Hello, governors. All right. Let me pull it on up here. Okay. All right. Let's move this out of my way. Ow. Hello, everyone. All right, so today we're going to talk about breaking the taboos. So, balancing the light and the dark. Hello. You're welcome to find a chair. So, we are going to talk about the things that scare people. Yay! Aren't you excited? Yeah. All right, so a couple of things before we get in, just kind of housekeeping. There are going to be some things that we're going to talk about that are a closed practice. So I just want you to know I'm not trying to culturally appropriate anyone. I just want to teach about the practices, okay? Yes. So a closed practice is means generally that you are born into it. It's a family thing. You have to be initiated into it. It's not just something you should pick up and do. Okay. Yeah. So which one? Yep. Yep. They are definitely closed practices. Mm-hmm. Yep. So cultural appropriation, for everybody that doesn't know, is the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of the customs, practices, ideas, etc. of one people or society by members of another and typically more dominant people or society. Okay? So I want to get that out of the way. I promise I'm not trying to culturally appropriate anything. Next housekeeping item is I'm Hope. I am not a teacher. I do like to talk about things that I know about, but even after 26 years of practice, I am still practicing myself. So I don't know all the information, but if you have a question and I don't know it, I will try to find the answer, okay? I also only try to talk about things that I am knowledgeable about. So if you ask me something about, say, Reiki, I'm going to tell you I have no idea because I don't. Okay. If you ask me about crystals, there we are. If you ask me about something spooky, it's probably my domain. It's kind of what I do. Next thing I want to talk about is, before we get into this, is everybody has a different line or different thought or whatnot about what is white and what is black, what is dark and what is light, what is good and what is evil, right? Whatever you want to call it. There are always those two sides. In my personal opinion, you have to have a little bit of both in order to be fully balanced, right? Without that, you are, well, unbalanced, but that's not the word I was going for. I can't remember what the word is, but in my opinion, everybody has to have a little bit of both, plain and simple. The things that we are going to talk about tonight are in society, and even in a lot of our groups, are things that people would probably consider closer to gray and black, right? And I want to show you why I probably should not touch the microphone or put my hand over it. Sorry to everybody out there. Anyway, I want to show you why they are not necessarily always bad, okay? One of the things that isn't in here, just because I think that it's becoming a more widely used practice, is candle magic. Candle magic was always traditionally known as a dark art, okay? And to me, candle magic can be anything you want it to be. It can be the most benign thing, or it can be the darkest thing. It's just how you use it. It's all about your intent, right? So for me, that's a big one, because if people could think that candle magic, like the whole practice, not just like, oh, this candle's for purifying or whatever, right? But the whole practice of candle magic, if people can lump that in with something like human sacrifice, I think there's an issue, right? So that's what this class is all about, is kind of like just breaking those down so that you know that not everything that has been shown in Hollywood is bad, okay? Any questions before I begin? All right, here we go. We're going to start with, hey, blood magic. Why? Why, you may ask? Because it's the one that scares people the most, this one and the next one, so I figure let's get it out of the way, right? So blood magic does not necessarily mean sacrifices. It does not mean human sacrifice. It does not mean animal sacrifice. It means anything to do with the workings of blood, okay? You don't have to get your blood from someone else. You can get your blood from yourself. A lot of blood magic that is practiced today is actually done with moon blood, so your menstrual blood, right? You definitely don't need to get that from someone else. You can, okay. If you are male, you probably need to get that from someone else. But females, you probably don't need to get that from someone else, right? You can also use any kind of an animal blood. Go to your local butcher, and most of them will actually sell it to you because it's used a lot in a lot of different practices, right? So blood magic is done for many, many purposes. Not all of them are bad, right? There is a form of divination that is literally done with menstrual blood, right? And if you haven't tried it, whatever, it sounds weird, but it's actually pretty cool. Jesse's over there. Yeah, it's true. Blood magic is very, very strong magic, okay? I myself would say if you don't know what you're doing, if you're just starting out, you shouldn't touch it, okay? So I'm sure I don't need to tell you that it's a very powerful thing. I have notes written out, sorry. Everybody understands because of how embedded it is within us that blood magic is strong. A lot of that has to do with the fear of blood. Hemophobia is a very real thing. That is the fear of blood or anything that happens to produce blood. So a lot of people actually suffer from it without knowing that they suffer from it. You know, you hear those, oh, I went and got a shot and that person passed out or whatever, you know, that was watching. That's probably because they have a fear of blood. So the sight of it sometimes it gets your immediate attention, right? Either good or bad. Blood is usually also associated with death. So like the slain warriors on the field, the victims of violence, prey, all that, generally are kind of bloody in their final resting space, you know. It's also associated with life, though. And that's what a lot of people don't think of, right? So the dark, you know, oh, it's death. But it is associated with life. We all have blood flowing through us, right? We're alive. Sometimes more than others, but so it is a part of the cycle of fertility, and it just keeps life going, right? So if you lose too much blood, you'd grow weak and die. Sometimes you have to get a blood transfusion to get more blood so that you can live, okay? It's also a lot of the times associated with pain, right? You fall, you hurt yourself, you scrape your knee, there might be some blood. And then you automatically think, oh, blood, pain, okay? With that, it's also associated with passion, okay? When you love love doing something, or when you're good at doing something, or when you innately can do something, the saying is that it's in your blood, right? Which is a good thing. So once again, you have the back and forth of it. If you're past moon blood, you can borrow from someone else, preferably with their permission, because that's when it gets dark. On the phone it says, I am past moon blood. So, anyway, so people that you love, particularly family members, things like that, they are your blood or your blood kin or of your blood, right? So generally, that's a good thing. So blood always connects you with things and others. Sorry, if you don't know someone or you can empathize with them, but you don't actually know them, right? Your heart bleeds for them. That's another saying. I'm just giving all of these because I want you to know it is not all bad, okay? Let's see. All the little microscopic bits that are in you have your DNA, right? Your DNA is also kind of a link to your ancestors, right? And so blood magic is really great if you're going to do ancestral magic, right? If you want to connect to your ancestors, yes, there are lots of ways that you can do it. Blood magic is one of them, okay? So something that contains this much power is naturally powerful in magic, and sometimes people say it's too powerful, and that's why they get scared, right? So once again, it is not magic that involves killing people or animals in ritual sacrifice. That is a whole nother type of thing. We are not going to talk about that because even with me, I'm good with like the darker things, right? I could not ever imagine myself killing an animal or a person to use in my magic. I'm not willing to go there. So I do not have that in here today. So we're not talking about laying some innocent creature out on an altar or in the center of a pentagram and killing it or wounding it. All right, that would be all kinds of wrong, not to mention legal, in my opinion. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, all opinions expressed in this class are of me, not of the Golden Flame Institute or the Hidden Sage. Done. Okay, blood magic you can use as much as just a few drops during a spell or a ritual, or as much as, a whole moon cycle's worth, which is a bit. Generally, if you are going to do blood magic, do it for yourself, therefore use your own blood, right? If you are doing it for someone else, it's honestly going to be stronger if you use their blood. Once again, make sure they are a willing participant. Your best friend, if you do want to practice blood magic, is not going to be a knife cut in your hand or anything like that. It's going to be the little lancets. Do you know what those are?
Diabetes, prick 'em.
Exactly, Karen. Karen said that blood carries a person's DNA, and so there's a connection there. Yeah, the things diabetics use, they prick their finger with them to read their blood sugar, right? Very minimal amounts of blood. Very minimal. You do not need very much, okay? So just a few drops can add the power that is needed to your magical working. So the first thing that you need to learn about blood magic is that it's not inherently, wow, why can I not say that? Inherently, goodness, evil, right? It doesn't make you evil, or it doesn't make you desire to do malicious deeds just because it's inside your body, right? Blood does not. Therefore, it is not inherently evil. I have to keep stressing that, you guys. It is all about your intention. We always come back to that. So, like I said, the negative connotations come from generally fear of blood, fear of our own mortality, fear of power, fear of loss, things like that, okay? Let's see. So I personally see blood, just like anything else, as a component in my magic. So I'm not going to try to do a candle spell without a candle, right? You're not going to try to do a strong blood spell without blood. It's kind of impossible. At least I feel like it is. You could get a spring-loaded injector with lancet. Easier to draw blood that way. Yes, thank you, Karen. All right. So it's, like I said, all about intent. It's not bad or good in its own right. It's all about what you're doing with it. There we go. Okay, so here's an analogy, because I like them. You could use fire to burn down your neighbor's house when they piss you off, right? Everybody has access to fire, which can be a very powerful and destructive force. So what stops you? Well, being an ethical person, right? Intent, right there. So being an ethical person, you generally don't want to harm others. If you do want to harm others, whatever, that's on you. But generally, if you're ethical, you don't want to. You have morals, right? So here's a couple of safety rules. I'm going to sit down. I feel weird standing. A couple of safety rules for if you are going to dabble in blood magic, okay? There are a few don'ts. So first is don't ever take more than a few drops. That's why I said, the lancet, something like that, rather than a knife, okay? You don't ever take blood from an unwilling participant. This includes animals, okay? This is a big one. Because for me, if they're unwilling or I steal it from them, that's just going to taint exactly what I'm doing with my magic, right? Don't smear your blood on people or let them smear it on you or exchange blood. I think that this one's kind of just practical, right? Like, I don't know what diseases someone else has and they don't know what I have. And so maybe keep your blood to yourself. Do not ever consume the blood, either directly or by putting it into a drink. Because besides the fact that you can catch a disease, blood is actually toxic to human beings. So in too large of an amount, it has too much iron, it has too many things in it that our body cannot produce or cannot digest, take care of, right? So even though it's in us, we're not actively ingesting it. Like, our stomach is not full of blood. At least mine isn't. I hope none of your guys' are, because if so, go to the doctor. Don't let others drink your blood, raw or in foods or drinks, anything like that. That is kind of like, well, not just bad health-wise, but it's also giving your power to them, okay? You never want to give your power away, right? Everybody has their own inherent power that is theirs. They should not, you can share it. I'm not saying like, hey, keep it all to yourself. But don't let them take it away, okay? To safely perform blood magic, sanitize, use a small poking instrument. I have a whole list. Poke only enough to break the skin. You don't want to chop half your finger off. Make sure your wound is cleaned so that there's nothing that gets in, no bacteria, anything like that. And then handle and dispose of anything that has touched with the blood with extreme caution. So especially if you are doing something for someone else, you want to make sure that you're taking precautions with their blood as well. Disinfect everything and then keep it clean, right? Like I said earlier, if you prefer and you're a female or you have access to moon blood that is offered to you, whatever, do that. Use it with a diva cup. Don't keep it for long due to the fact that it'll spoil, just like if you left meat out on a counter, blood will do the same thing, right? So I've actually seen people that have like little vials of blood, of like chicken blood or whatever, that they go to the butcher's. And they'll like keep it in their like herb chest, things like that. That's really not good. That's going to be bad. You're not going to want to use it. So just be sanitary, okay? So some of the reasons that you can use blood magic that aren't inherently dark, right? Protection, okay? Not minor protection like, oh, my coworker is a pain in the butt and I don't want to talk to him, so I'm going to put this protective spell up, right? Not like that. Major protection, okay? Like things that have potential for life-altering issues, life-altering threats, life-changing threats, accidents, crime, things like that, okay? If you have a stalker, you have a stalker, no one's taking care of it, things like that. All right, use some blood magic, make yourself a protective spell, right? That way, it's going to be strong enough, right? You can use it for health and wellness issues. So not things like a skinned knee or anything, but things like disease, large injuries. If you have surgery, you could do a healing spell with your own blood, and then it makes it even better, of course. Or breaking and healthy addictions. People don't seem to realize how much you can do with it that isn't bad. Or for desperate needs, not little things like saving money to go to Disneyland or things like that. But if you were starving and had no way to, get any food, or you were homeless or things like that, use it in those types of spells, right? Oh, okay, so this way. All right, so there are more rules on when to not use it, and I am going to go over them, even though it sounds like I'm just like beating a dead horse, but not for its blood. Okay. Well, it's funny to me. Okay, never use blood magic unless you are fully prepared to accept whatever the consequences may be. That's why I say not for beginners, okay? Because you may use it and think that you're doing everything right, but maybe there was just a little something tweaked in there. Maybe a thought came in while you were holding your intentions, and it goes askew, right? So unless you really need to, or you are really skilled, don't try it, please. Don't ever use it to target others without their permission, which I'm not sure why they would give you permission. Anyway, unless it's for something that, like the crime or something like that is life-changing, may die, Don't use it in love and relationship magic. Don't get me started on that. I'm not even going to go into that other than to say, please don't use it in love and relationship magic. It can actually turn the bond into like a chain. It's emotional slavery. Yeah. Never use it to gain power. And by that, I mean, like, don't use it to become the president randomly, It's probably not going to work. If you can't earn it naturally, you probably don't need it. Plain and simple. Don't use it for vengeance and retaliation. And try not to use it to bring harm to anyone or anything unless it's the most serious situation, okay? A couple ways you can use it. There are many, many, many ways that you can use it, but here's just a couple. Candle magic, okay? So you take the blood drops and put it with the oil to dress your candles, charge your candles, things like that. If you don't use anointing oil on your candles, the blood will do just fine, okay? A small drop or two to anoint and charge any talisman or amulet. So if you are making talismans for people for like protection, right? You can, this is why I don't keep my hair down, sorry. You can anoint it with blood just to make that even stronger, okay? If you do a jar spell or a container magic, things like that, you can put a couple of drops of your blood in there as well. In petition magic, so if you are trying to petition a higher being or a deity, whatever, especially in like court cases, things like that, you can actually put a little bit of it on there, and it kind of seals the deal. And then if you do a mojo bag, you can definitely put a couple of drops in there, okay? Though not entirely as powerful as blood, there are other things that you can use. All right, urine, saliva, semen, nail clippings, hair clippings, things like that. That's why for my hair, whenever I brush it, I make sure that I clear out my brush and you don't throw it away. I burn it. No one else gets a part of me, okay? Except for everything that sprinkles around like confetti, right? So those are all options, and they will lend power. They are not as strong as blood, okay? And then when you're first learning magic, it's advised that you work with these first before you graduate onto blood, okay? So I would definitely try, hair or nail clippings, things like that, before you go full on carry, all right? And then you'll get a sense of when you're ready to move up, okay? Trust your belly, trust your intuition. And then once again, nothing is inherently good or bad, so it all depends on how you choose to utilize it. So practice safe magic and you'll be okay. So that's blood magic. Any questions? I don't have a watch that works, so I don't know how long we've gone. Oh crap. Give me like clues back there, like you need to move on. No questions? Un momento, por favor. I don't know how far I can. Did you just realize I was tethered? And that's why you met me halfway? Okay. All right, no questions. We're going on. And spirit boards. Okay. Anyone that knows me knows I love spirit boards. I'm wearing one on my face right now. I call them spirit boards, not Ouija boards. Ouija is actually a patented board game. It's a trademark name from Parker Brothers. Hollywood has demonized the crap out of Ouija boards, but you know what? They are super useful tools, okay? I love them. Absolutely love them. So you can actually trace them back to the Roman era. They had gurus, which were spirit talkers, and they used these boards, right? These boards are a super helpful tool, as long as you know what you're doing, right? So for me, I have done plenty of talks with my board, right? I feel confident. Generally, I tell people don't do it by yourself, right? I feel confident enough that I would do it myself, okay? With spirit boards, a couple of issues that you might run into. I guess this is the caution part, right? Don't do it by yourself, especially if you're a beginner, okay? Never leave your planchette, which if you don't know what a planchette is, it's this cute little heart-looking thing, upside-down heart. Never leave it on a board unattended. Plain and simple. When you put your board away, make sure that you wrap them separately and put them separately, okay? You don't want them to be unattended. The planchette is like your portal, okay? You wouldn't want to leave a portal open for anyone to come through. Don't do it with the board, okay? Ouijas are, if you call them Ouijas, then you're talking about the board game. If you call them spirit boards, then you're talking about what pagans use, okay? That's not to say that a pagan cannot use a Ouija board, because you know what? Sometimes you don't have access to a homemade, handmade spirit board or talking board, so you go to Walmart and you pick one up for $30 because you can. They were banned for about 25 years. You were not able to get them, and I think that just added to the mystique of them and how terrible they are. Okay, spirit boards can have bad consequences. If you do not properly know how to use them, if you do not properly know how to open and close them, and if you do not know how to properly identify who you are speaking with, those are all major pitfalls. Okay. I have heard of people that I personally know that have given me their terrible experiences, right? And my response generally is, you probably shouldn't have done that. Like, plain and simple. It's not just something to take lightly. Anyway, those were some don'ts, some do's. Make sure that you have, especially when you're starting out, at least one other person working the board with you, okay? As well as one other person that is solely there as the scribe. Because a lot of times, spirits, whoever you have contacted with, well, first off, it may not always be who you want to contact with. That is because they're not there for us to be at our beck and call, right? If they want to come through to you, they will. If they don't, if they're like, not right now, then you might get someone else, okay? So a scribe is super helpful to, 1, keep time, 2, make sure that they are watching like the surroundings. If you have candles lit, if you have music playing, if you have different things, they can watch the flames go up and down, they can watch the surroundings, right? 3, you're not always gonna get coherent words. So if you're looking for, is this whoever, you're not always gonna get a yes or a no. Sometimes you're gonna get a like, yeet. You know, I've never had someone say yeet on a spirit board, but that was the word that came to my head. What the hell does that mean, right? Like, that's throwing something. But nowadays, at least my teenagers, I don't know, it's how they speak, right? Text lingo it's not going to be like, oh, LOL. That's probably not going to come through, but weird acronyms, things like that will, okay? So that scribe is there to be able to write everything down. If they notice that one of the participants is acting a little strange, maybe they were previously comfortable and then they suddenly got stiff, or maybe their voice sounds weird, or whatever, they can write all of those in the notes. And they're important to go back over later, okay? When I've done it myself, or by myself, my scribe is just my phone voice memo thingy, because I know how to pull that up. I don't do technology very well, which may be why I like spirit boards. I don't know. Anyway, so I tend to record things with that, mainly because I haven't figured out how to do it with a camera. Plus, spirit boards don't really like technology very much. So when you cast your circle and you have your candles in your area that you're in, whatever technology you're using, if you're using technology to record it with a camera, the voice memos or whatever, make sure that's outside of the circle, because you're not going to get very good feedback from it inside your circle, okay? And I learned that the hard way. So there's that. If you ever see a child, especially a little girl in white, like if they come through like that, you probably won't know they're in white, but you can tell pretty quick if it's a like more mature energy or a younger energy. Children, unless you're reaching out to them, which I don't recommend at all, children are bad omens, okay? Which is very weird to say. But children generally come through because it's a demonic entity that wants to come through. It's not who you want to talk to, right? I personally would, never try to contact a child. If I did contact a child, or if a child was in there and that's what came back, that's a close your board. Close it off. Say thank you. Walk away with that planchette. Don't leave it on the board. Yeah, I really, really like spirit boards.
How did that come to be that children aren't?
You know, children are easier to inhabit and to work and mold than adults are, right? So we've had like, I took a course about other things to watch out for, and one of them is like the disabled mind or the mentally ill. Those are also sometimes easier to mold as well. So, yeah. Question? What?
Plus you want your
It's true. It's true. You are, unless you're a child hater, you are more likely, which I know a lot of them, by the way, you are more likely to not be as suspicious of a child. So, okay, questions? Yes?
So, you make your own board?
I have.
Okay.
Uh-huh. I have a couple of commercially bought ones. I have a couple that I personally made.
Wood
I have one that was gifted. I have a box that I made, and I burned one on top, and then all my stuff can go inside. Not the planchette, though, because I think that would be borrowing trouble. I don't know if it would be bad since it's not on top. It's inside the box, but still isn't going to happen for me. In fact, my planchette is always on my altar. Just that's where I keep it. Then I know it's far away from the board. So, how fast did I do that? 10 minutes? That's it? Killing it. That's why I didn't bother writing notes, because I was like, no, because then that'll be 10 pages of notes. I actually teach a whole class on spirit boards, a 2-hour class, or I think the last one was like almost 3 hours. Because once I get talking, I just love them. Okay, so if there's no questions on spirit boards, I'm going to move on. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Here's the spooky one. Okay. So we're going to kind of interchange the next two. Not because they're the same thing, but you cannot talk about one without talking about the other. So it's going to be hoodoo and voodoo. Okay? They sound alike. They are different. Okay? So hoodoo is a type of folk magic. Okay? It was practiced mainly in Africa. It was a way when, this is going to be totally shitty to say, but when slaves were stolen and brought over and tried to get pushed into their owners' religions or religious beliefs, okay? This was their way of, no. I have all your notes for your 2-hour spirit board class. Yes, I know you do, Melanie. You took a lot of notes. But this was their way of being able to hold on to their culture, their ancestry, their beliefs, you know. And with hoodoo, also known as conjure, okay? A lot of people think that conjure is voodoo, but it's actually with hoodoo, okay? But a lot of people also think hoodoo and voodoo are the same thing. So anyway, it is a semi-closed practice. I put semi-closed because, so it has always been a closed practice, always. From forever. It is, you have to have it passed down, right? However, as the years go by, more people have gotten interested in hoodoo. And so it's now semi-closed. It is not completely forbidden to practice some hoodoo, but it is still frowned upon in some ways, okay? There are a lot of hoodoo traditions, hoodoo aspects that I really, really enjoy. I would never in a million years call myself a hoodoo priestess or a hoodoo practitioner, because I'm not. And that's a big thing. This is where kind of cultural appropriation comes in a lot. So if you don't have that culture, please never call yourself a hoodoo practitioner, a hoodoo priestess, a hoodoo priest, a hoodoo whatever, a hoodoo shaman. Don't call yourself any of those, please, ever. You'll break my heart. Okay, so hoodoo is all about personal power. One of the fundamentals of it is your bloodline helps you with that power, right? So we all innately have our own magics in us. At least that's my belief, right? And since this is a class with my beliefs, that's what you're getting. We all have our own power, our own magic. And no one could take that away from us or give that to us, right? With hoodoo, because it is passed down, just like, I'm going to slaughter it, but it's brujeria, it's Mexican, or strega, which is Italian. They are definitely family things, and they are strengthened by your blood, okay? Let's see, Ray Malborough has published a couple of hoodoo books on, yep, very true. If you want to learn more without culturally appropriating, there are some amazing, amazing books. And I own probably 20 of them. Okay, so let's see. They're both widely practiced, and they share similar elements and roots in Africa, voodoo and hoodoo. They are kind of products of mixed beliefs as well. But the main difference is that hoodoo is, like I said, folk magic, right? So hoodoo as folk magic lacks the foundation of a religion, okay? So hoodoo is not as structured, especially with deities, okay, as voodoo is. It is very much a personal flow, if that makes sense. You aren't as stuck in the rigidness as you are in some of the other practices. Hoodoo scares people because they automatically think it's all about death, and it's not. Hoodoo, actually, they deal a lot with herbs and growing, and a hoodoo practitioner often sees it as their personal power that can help them and other people with their knowledge of herbs, minerals, animal parts, bodily fluids, possessions, things like that. So it can be used based on someone's inclinations, desires, and and interests. So hoodoo practitioners empower themselves by maybe I'll just pick this up. By accessing the gods and other supernatural forces in any belief system, okay? In order to bring improvement, things like that. With that being said, there is also the other side of it that, you know, they could do that to bring a decline to someone's life and health, you know. But once again, I think that everybody has that ability, okay? So with, due to the variety of their knowledge and the different strengths that come with hoodoo, depends on kind of how strong their help will be if they are helping for you. Hoodoo practitioners are very, very much helpers, okay? And by that I mean, in some pagan groups, they are very much like, you're an outsider, go away, right? Hoodoo practitioners are almost always willing to help you if you need it. And not just if you need it, but if you need it and you are worthy of it, maybe? I don't know. I don't know if that's the way I would say it, but that's what I said. So if you are willing to take the consequences of what may or may not happen, and if you are, I don't know, of sound mind, I don't know how to describe it. They're not just going to help anyone that walks in off the street, plain and simple. And like a lot of different groups, you know, everybody has that intuition, like that gut feeling. You know, you can feel the vibes, you can read the auras, you can do whatever you call it, right? And if someone is coming in there with bad intentions, they can feel it. And not only will they not help you, but there might be some stuff going on behind the scenes to hinder you, okay? This is one, and so is voodoo, that it's don't don't piss off the person that you're trying to get help from. Plain and simple. Don't come in there with intentions that are just for your personal gain, unless, back to blood magic, back to unless your life is in danger, anything like that. Okay? So, let's see. Okay, so hoodoo is very popular in the southern parts of America. It was brought to the New World by African slaves, right? And it is very prevalent down there, okay? Whereas the next one is prevalent in other areas. Okay, questions on hoodoo? I have no idea if I'm breaking taboos or if I'm just telling you about things. I don't know. What's my time? I'm trying to go quick. Okay, no questions on hoodoo? Nothing from the people at home? Okay. I don't know if you guys, that picture, if you know what that is, but it's it's not a voodoo doll. It is a pin statue. So they were statues that were made like little golems that are for specific people. So you wouldn't use it for the same person. I picked this picture, even though it's a terrible representation, because I love it. Just saying. It reminds me of Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog. Anyway. All right, so voodoo. Voodoo is an actual religion, okay? It is based on specific deities and beliefs, okay? It is also sometimes called voodoo, especially depending on where the person practicing it is from, okay? It is practiced in many, 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 many places. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and read some of those real quick, if I can find out where I put it. I got to stop printing these on both sides because I lose which page I'm on. Okay. I literally just had it. Or maybe it's over here. Okay, so some of the places of influence for voodoo, especially original voodoo, is Haiti. So Haitian voodoo priestesses or priests are kind of the end-all be-all, okay? If they tell you don't touch their practices, don't touch their practices. They are not strictly a closed belief system or a closed religion, but if you are doing something that they do not agree with or that does not go with their principles, you will know, okay? Also, a lot of voodoo is practiced in former French colonies like Mississippi and Louisiana. The French Quarter, if you go to New Orleans, you are going to see a voodoo shop on every corner. You are going to, it's steeped in so much history, and like a super, super rich history, okay? I myself don't feel, very painful, yes, the pin doll did, the pin statue. I myself don't believe there's any harm in learning about others' beliefs. There is, in my opinion, no harm with having that natural curiosity and gaining that knowledge. The harm comes when you try to use something that is not yours. Okay. Okay, where's the first page? Is it this one? Oh my goodness. Okay. This one's the first page. So voodoo as a religion is an organized institution with established practices like religious representatives or leaders, teachings, and religious services or rituals. Okay, so out of, I would say most of the pagan practices, most of the things that fall under the pagan umbrella Voodoo is probably in the top 5 of most structured. Okay. There are a lot of rules. There's a lot of regulations. There are a lot of people that you have to go through, and a lot of things that you have to go through to get approvals for different things. Okay. So voodoo invokes the power of the Loas. A Loa is their deity. Okay. A Loa, which is Loas, Loas, are different African gods that do different things. So there are Loas for everything that you can think of. Okay. I forgot to say about hoodoo. A lot of their stuff also incorporates Catholic saints. Gosh. So just because of why hoodoo came about, like why it or how it has been transformed, if that makes sense. So voodoo is usually practiced by non-Roman Catholics, while hoodoo's practitioners are often the Roman Catholics who use both the African concept of gods and the religious saints of Catholicism. So specific terms ascribed to a voodoo practitioner is a voodoo-sant, right? While hoodoo, they often are root doctors, root healers, root shaman, things like that. Okay, that's kind of their names. I don't want to miss anything. There's so much that I love about these. Voodoo, I feel like, is accessible to everyone, okay? Not just if you have Haitian bloodlines or African bloodlines. It is accessible to everyone as long as you are willing to live that way of life. Because voodoo isn't just something that you practice. It is a serious way of life. So here in Utah, we have the LDS Church. That is their way of life, right? Everything kind of revolves around their beliefs. That's how they live their lives. The same thing with voodoo. If you decide to participate in voodoo, you are signing up to always honor those Loas, always do what is within kind of their principles with their deities and things like that. It's not something like that you can just pick up a little bit of it or pick up a little bit of that and add it to your practice. Okay. Which I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. To me, voodoo or voodoo-sants, they're super helpful. They work a lot with, of course, not just their deities, but a lot with the forces of nature. And so, hurricanes, floods, things like that, they kind of thrive off of those forces, if you could. I would say thrive. I like that word. We're going to go with thrive. So they very much, I don't know. I really love voodoo, but I don't know how to get the words out. They very much embody Mother Nature. Okay, so they are kind of there, vibing with all the natural stuff. Okay, which was a terrible way to say that. Okay, so. Voodoo is the original religion, right? But hoodoo is the result of religious persecution and suppression. So that's kind of how those two came about. You can practice hoodoo without being voodoo, right? But you cannot do voodoo without hoodoo because they kind of mesh. Yep. All right. So let's see. Culture and way of life. I already said that. I apparently skipped ahead. I already said that. Voodoo is sometimes known as the more purer. It is the purer part of it. I don't know if I don't know if I believe that, just because I guess I don't have enough knowledge to be able to talk about that. So it's the one that kind of came first. It's more ancient, whatnot, but a lot of times it is compared to hoodoo rather than two sides of a coin. It's like two completely separate coins, right? It encompasses a wide variety of fields in society, like culture, philosophy, art, music, heritage, language, medicine, justice, spirituality, and power. Okay. Voodoo work with the forces of nature. Yes, you are correct, Bernadine. So literally every aspect of life is covered with a voodoo song, right? There are many different, I think it goes that way, many different thought processes on whether hoodoo and voodoo are evil. In my opinion, I've already said this, but there's, the dark and the light, balance it together. I don't think anything is inherently evil. I do think that if you say tomorrow you wake up and you decide that you want to join voodoo, that you want to be a part of that lifestyle, I do think you would lose a lot of friends, a lot of family members, because it is such a taboo subject. There's such a stigma because people seem to think that voodoo is just pins in little puppets, or killing animals or using blood that was not freely given. They think that everything that they do is bad, and it's just not true. There's a really fantastic book that hold on. Bernadine says, hoodoo is a conglomerate of practices that use Native American, granny magic, and African beliefs brought to this nation by slaves. That was my high five to you. You said that so much better than I did, right? Okay, so a really great book, if I can pull it up. I usually give books at the end, but I'm going to do it now. Sorry to whoever just had to hear that, you guys. The New Orleans Voodoo Handbook, which is by Kanaz Falan, was actually written by a voodoo song. Okay? Are you leaving me? Okay, bye. So it's a really good one. And then there's The Magic of Marie Laveau, which is by Denise Alvarado. And if you don't know who Marie Laveau is, look it up. We don't have a class long enough for that. There is. Anyway, there is a lot of great history. Her tomb is in New Orleans. They don't let you go near it because people have damaged it because they want to take that piece of her magic, and yeah. Okay, questions about hoodoo and voodoo? And I probably just made that even more confusing for all of you. I'm sorry. Oh, I think I did this wrong. Okay, there we go. Curses. Okay, so the next, I think, 4 kind of all go together again, okay? Curses versus jinxes versus hex versus bindings, right? So curses are the most powerful of all of those. I don't know why I chose to start with that one, but I did. So they can impact for life. My definition of this is a form of malevolent magic, more powerful than a jinx. Oh no, I lied. It's the most powerful, and if done well, it can last a lifetime or even longer. You can put curses on a family bloodline, okay? So you are not just cursing, that person, but you're cursing their kid and their kid's kid and their kid's kid and maybe their kid's kid's dog. Like, seriously, curses are forever for the most part. Okay? They are not easily reversed. There are people out there that will say, oh, I can reverse a curse for you. Check that out twice. Like, maybe do some research into them because they are so strong. Oh, I love it, Karen. So I wasn't going to bring that up. I actually took that out of my notes. She said the Kennedys. You guys can't see the stuff, but she said the Kennedys. There is actually a conspiracy theory that I happen to believe, which I don't generally do conspiracy theories, but the Kennedys, like plain and simple, I'm pretty sure they did something that someone did not like, and therefore they cursed their bloodline. Because if you look at everything that's happened, like, there's no way you could think something else, right? Well, the thing is, there's every coincidences, right? But you will never have that many coincidences. That's why I tend to forget. Anyway. One way to break a curse is to atone for whatever caused you to be cursed. Okay? So, say you murdered my brother, okay? And that's just the only thing I could think of. You now have a curse on you. You have a curse on all the males in your family now, right? How would you atone for murdering someone? Yeah, I can't think of anything either, but that's the only thing that I have. I don't know, what, you're going to kill your brother? Or let me kill your brother? Is that an atonement? Does that make it right? Not in my mind. Would you devote your life to nothing but good works? I don't know.
You might have to save a life.
Yeah, you might have to. You took a life. Maybe you got to save a life. There's a lot of different perspectives. Okay, I feel like myself, I would never. Okay, I can't say I would never, but I have never done any kind of curse work. Okay, does that mean never, ever, 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 ever? Probably not.
I've learned that you never say never.
Yeah, exactly. I know myself enough to know that it comes to my kids, things like that. Like, there's no telling what I would do to save my children, right? So it's never off the table. But curses are definitely something that I would say you need to think twice, 3 times, 5 times, 100 times about. It's definitely not a spur of the moment thing. Okay. Now on the other end, if you feel like you have been cursed, you need to find out why, right? Because generally curses are not just thrown at you for no reason.
How would you find out
How would you find out?
if you were cursed?
Well, do some deep diving of your soul and what you've done. Serious. Do some shadow work to see if there's something like super bad that you've done that you feel would warrant a curse. Does that make sense? Like some things are simple, like if someone murdered my brother, that murderer is going to know they murdered my brother, right? So if they were cursed, they'd be like, oh, well, of course I murdered her brother. Of course I got a curse, right? If it's something like accidental, something, I don't know, something, maybe you rigged a competition or something, a homecoming queen thing, and someone got pissed off. That is a stupid, stupid reason. Do not ever listen to that. Yep, mal de ojo. Yep, caused by the evil eye. Yeah, so we'll bring that one up in just a second. Yeah, that one I don't think, I don't consider a curse, Bernadine. That would definitely, yeah, exactly, Carrie. I went back to Carrie, Maylani.
So how would you find out the curse on you?
Well, once again, sometimes it's simple, like, oh, I know I did this to her, it was her, and this is why, right? Sometimes it's what have I done? And you have to do that deep soul searching, right? That, I call it shadow work, where you actually have to look in, like, with an objective mind, because you're always going to be like, oh, I didn't do anything that bad. But to other people, you know, it might be super bad. How would you know who it is? Well, a couple of ways. So there are people that are very versed in curses, okay? They will, you know, sell themselves so that, you know, oh, you need a curse? I'll do that for you, right? Track down the source. Have you ever heard of cords or chains or anything like that? Because sometimes you can, if you're into astral projection or dream walking or things like that, sometimes you could follow those cords back to the original source. There are different spells, different magics that you can do to kind of reveal where it came from, okay? I would definitely just look into those things. I can tell you, though, that I have a lot of people that come and say, hey, I think I've been cursed. And you can tell them directly off, you have not been cursed. Because you can feel it. You can feel a cursed person, right? Anyone that listens to their intuition, their gut, their whatever they call it, right? You will know a difference. Like, your best friend has always been how she is, right? Say she was cursed. It's almost going to make you feel sick to be around her. You're going to know, right? I don't feel like there is a thing such as a silent curse. Other people do believe there is a thing such as a silent curse. So a silent curse is one that you don't know is there until it really impacts your life. But something this heavy, I feel like you would know right away. Okay? Any questions on curses? Yeah?
So you were talking about family lines and stuff, and so it's kind of hard when you're impacted by it, when you don't even know, are a part of that whole situation.
Right.
So how do you, as a third, fourth line person or whatever it may be, get rid of that and like purify that and get it out?
So that's kind of what I was talking about with the, if you do shadow work, you're not going to know because it wasn't you that directly did it, right? It's back in your ancestry.
Yeah.
So you can do like past life regressions and find out, oh, like this happened. You can do ancestral work. Ancestral work is pretty heavy. There are a lot of people that actually say don't do it. I myself want to know everything I can about where I came from. So I think it's a great thing. I don't give anyone's curses power by believing in it. That's what Melanie said. Sorry. But you can do that ancestral work, and you can go back and you can trace those cords that I was talking about. By now, if it's, third, fourth generation removed, it's not going to be a cord anymore. Now it's going to be more like a chain, right? And so it'll be easier to detect that it's there. I know a lot of people that have been super unlucky their whole life and never realized why. And I, once again, don't think it was a curse per se, but it was probably a hex, which we'll go into, I think, next. Yeah. So any other questions on curses? I keep sitting down, but it hurts my back. And
Do they ever slowly deteriorate?
Not curses. Not curses. Curses are going to be as strong day one until it gets broken. Okay? There are, once again, different thoughts on that. That is my personal belief. And I have that backed up from a lot of different things, especially from the magic that has been passed down to me. Okay? Or the beliefs I have. Any other questions? Nope. Bam. Hexes. So hexes are the next one. A hex is a form of malevolent magic, more powerful than a jinx, but not as powerful as a curse, right? So it lasts longer. It's kind of right in the middle of them. It lasts longer, and this is where if you are hexed, or not you, but one of your ancestors, it does slowly go down after time, right? So 10 generations from now, it might completely be gone. So it's broken by the, oh yeah, I'm like, by being hexed, why would it be broken? Gosh. Okay, so it is generally broken by the person that was hexed or someone in that line, okay? Generally with a hex, you don't go to a third party to help you. With a curse, you can. Like I said, with a curse, make sure that you do your homework on who is doing it. Hexes are usually harmful. Like, I'm not going to hex someone into, having flowers and roses all the time, right? Like, that would be silly. And hexes are definitely considered dark magic. So, and so are curses as well. But I figured that one was self-explanatory, so I didn't put that on there. So hexes are a little bit different. So they can be broken when the subject learns their lesson, okay? So whereas curses, you have to atone for whatever happened, right? Hexes, you just have to learn your lesson. So you have to not just learn it, okay, yeah, I know what I did wrong. Oh, it's broken, right? But actually, okay, this is what happened. This is why it happened. And this is how I'm going to better myself or better whatever it is in the future so that it isn't as impactful, right? So it's not just knowing it, it's also practicing that betterment or whatever it is. Not all hexes are, put on you for a good reason. Hexes, in my opinion, are... it's really hard to curse someone, okay? Like, you don't accidentally, throw a curse on you and your bloodline, right? That's some powerful, some deep stuff. Curses are probably a little bit easier, too. I still don't think you could accidentally do it, but I think that a hex could be done and probably has been done for dumb reasons. Spur of the moment, my ire is up, I'm not thinking, I'm letting the emotions rule, right? And I do feel like hexes can happen that way quite often, right? Okay, where am I? Sorry. Okay. Questions on hexes? I don't really talk about them as much. No? Okay. Oh. All right. Well, apparently I got these two mixed up. So this is the least. This is a binding, okay? Bindings can be, they're the most mild out of the four. They can be helpful, okay? If, say, you're a smoker, you want to quit smoking, okay? You can bind that habit in like a freezer spell, something like that. You're not trying to harm yourself. In fact, you're trying to help, right? Bindings, a lot of people have no compunction doing them on other people without permission. I don't like that unless it's because there's going to be imminent harm, right? I myself have done bindings. I will continue to do bindings. However, I will always either have the permission of the person that is being bound, and generally people are not going to come to you, hey, will you do a binding on me because I want you to? Like, that's a whole different, that's like BDSM. Like, yeah, shibari, right? Anyway, wow, sorry. Good thing they edit these before they go on the on the nonprofit page. Anyway, they're not going to generally come to you and not give you permission. Like, does that make sense? But there are a lot of people that will come to you and say, can you bind this person so that they will stop talking to me? Okay? In my opinion, actually, depending on what the whole situation is, I might do that. Okay? If the situation is just, I don't want to talk to them, or I don't want them talking to me because their voice is annoying, I'm going to tell you to go find a door. Like, to me, that would be a dumb reason to bind someone, to use your magic and put that intent out there, you know? Because even through all of this, I still believe in karma. Like, what goes around is going to come around, in my opinion, right? And it's going to be worse. And if you're out here using your magic, your personal power for insignificant things, when that comes back around to you, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to preach. So bindings are the simplest, okay? They are, like I said, a simple freezer spell is a form of binding, okay? If you don't know what a freezer spell is, talk to me after and I'll explain. But you can do everything from from one that's just, this is ideal for abusive people. Agreed. So Melanie said that bindings are ideal for abusive people. I absolutely agree. I personally did a binding on my best friend's husband when they were married, after I threatened him. But like, I let him know, like, keep your hands off of her or some harm's going to come your way, whether it's me physically harming you because I'm going to, or I don't deal with abusive people very well, or in the form of, you know, my power, you know, either way, something's going to happen if you don't lay off. And he laid off. So, no, I lied. He didn't lay off while she was pregnant, and then she had the baby, and then I was like, now there's two of them. I have to do a binding. I bound him, and he never touched her after that. And then she divorced him later on when she found out. Anyway, not found out that I did that, but found out that she's worth more. Okay. Karen said, should you do a spell to keep others from saying bad stuff about you? Yes, no? I feel like if you do a spell that is going to gag someone every time they start speaking about you, like, you know, so they can't breathe or so they're going to puke or whatever, you know, or makes them not speak, probably not, because that could be harmful. If you're going to do a spell of forget me, like, you don't even need to have me or mine in your mind, I think that would be better. Yeah. I hope that answered the question. Was it a total yes, no? I'm sorry. Okay, so with bindings are also the most easily broken because my cat commented Melanie commented a period, and it was actually her cat. She wanted to talk to me. Anyway, they are the easiest to be broken because it can be unintentional. I say back to that freezer spell, right? The freezer binding. Maybe your significant other doesn't know what that gobbledygook in the back of your freezer is for and is like, well, I'm going to get rid of this. Gets rid of it. Well, it's eventually going to thaw out, right? Well, guess what? You just lost the freezer part of the freezer binding spell. Therefore, you don't have a binding anymore. Okay? They are also the easiestly? Mm-hmm. Wow. Easiest for the person being bound to break because they can be broken by an acknowledgement. Not a learning the lesson, not an atoning, but acknowledging that they did wrong, they are bound, they don't want that to happen anymore. And poof, right? So for these guys, I definitely wouldn't use it for, this person's going to come murder me. I'm going to just bind them. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. I would do something a lot more powerful. Okay? All right. I do have an actual, my actual definition is that binding is the lowest form or easiest form. It's generally to make a person or situation that is hurting you end. And it can be done in a helpful way. Okay? Any questions on binding? I bet you guys didn't even know there were all these levels, did you? Yeah. Okay. So this is jinxes. Jinxes. Okay. Which is probably why I can't speak, because there's words like jinxes. Okay. Okay, so a jinx is a form of malevolent magic where the subject gets bad luck, minor misfortunes, things like that. It's simple, nasty, but isn't meant to seriously harm someone. And it usually only lasts a little while. Okay. So these are the ones that I say are sometimes accidental. Have you heard of mal de ojo? Or
Say the same, when two people are talking, say the same word at the same time, and you turn to jinx.
jinx. That's to not have a jinx. That was actually the thought process, was if you acknowledged it, then it wouldn't happen. So that's kind of where that came from. Molochio, if you do strega or stregera, I can't roll my R's very well apparently, or mal de ojo, they are also known as the evil eye, right? The evil eye is when you look at someone or something with jealousy, with you covet what they have, right? Oh, that chick over there has such beautiful hair. I wish I had her hair. Like, that's jealousy, right? Well, you're like throwing your powers around already, right? That's you throwing your stuff there without realizing it, right? These are, with a jinx, they have like specific sets or specific rules or things you have to do to get rid of them. So, mal de ojo, the evil eye. You can do a cleanse. It's called an egg cleanse, right? You take a egg that you have left out on your counter, so it's room temperature. You literally rub it in the shell. It's a raw egg in the shell. You rub it from the bottoms of your feet up and over, all the way over your body. You put it under your bed or under your pillow. You sleep. You let the jinx go into it. The next morning, you take room temperature water. You crack that egg into the water, and all of the nasties that are in there, that's the jinx coming out. Okay? There's more to it than that. That was a very simplified version, but you get the gist, right? With a jinx, there are a lot of superstitions with a jinx, okay? Such as, you already said one, you say a word at the same time. Jinx. A lot of people lump these last four things all into one, all into a curse, right? So they are actually very different. I was actually going to do a class on just those four things and go really in depth, but we ended up doing it this way instead because there were a lot of different things. With a jinx, you have to, like I said, it could be done accidentally. You have to kind of be mindful of your thought processes. Like, it is not possible for you to 100% of the time only think positive thoughts about things and people and whatnot, right? I don't care who you are. You can be the biggest love and lighter. I don't care who you are. You are not always going to be able to think positive 100% of the time. Okay? As my daughter would say, no, I don't know what she would say, period. Some crap like that. She hates when I try to pick up her lingo. Like I told her that her eyebrows were on fleek, and she was like, well, that was about 10 years ago, and stop talking like that. And it makes me happy because it embarrasses her. Anyway, you just have to be conscious of when you do it, or when you are throwing that power around, that intent around. If you notice it, you're like, oh, like I said, she's got nice hair. I want her hair. Like, what a bitch, Oh, I probably shouldn't have had that intent or that feeling towards that, even if it's later, and you can cleanse it away. You as the person doing it, right, could cleanse it away by, this was accidental. I'm going to do a purifying bath. I'm going to anoint and light a white candle to purify all of those people I may have harmed by my shit thoughts today. Like, right? So there have been times that I jinxed myself. Yeah, it's true. One of the superstitions is, the knock on wood, right? Because if it can't get any worse, knock on wood. Because you just jinxed yourself, right? Oh, it can't get any worse? Guess what? It can.
Don't ever ask that question.
Exactly. So then you do the little superstitions like the knock on wood or the cross yourself if you're Catholic. That wasn't even a half a cross there. Or the, a cleansing bath, just the different things, whatever your belief is. You would definitely make sure that you do that to get rid of that, because you don't want to jinx yourself. You don't want to unintentionally jinx someone else either. But it happens. Yeah. It's all about, in my opinion, intent. So some things are super harmless. But then there are some things that you throw out there with real venom, if that makes sense. Like you feel it to your core how angry you are. And that's when it kind of goes on the cusp of, is this a jinx or is this going to be a hex type thing. Okay? Why do we knock 3 times? On wood? Or are you talking about like on a door? Or are you talking about, well, that would be ringing 3 times. Because if you ring a bell 3 times for a fairy, you ring it once and you get only the bad. If you ring it twice, you get nothing. If you ring it 3 times, then you get the good. I don't know if you ever heard that. Anyway. Okay, any other questions about jinxes versus hexes versus bindings versus curses? That was a lot, wasn't it? I'm sorry. Okay. All the time on anything. I think that for me, at least, where am I? For me, Meilani, the reason I knock 3 times is because I have an affinity for the number 3. It's just a OCD that is me. All right, ready? Sex magic. I forgot. Can you? How? I blurred her, but oof. Are there sticky notes or something down here? Okay, well, whatever. It happened. Sorry. Okay, so sex magic I was not going to put in here. Mainly because I do not feel like sex magic is dark or bad or evil or anything like that any of the time. Sorry. That is not to say like, as long as it's consensual sex magic, okay? Let's go with that, because it's all about consent, right? One of the big things that covens or different beliefs different people that belong to different beliefs is polyamory, okay? Polyamory, polygamy, right? Those are both actually forms of sex magic because things are better in 3s, right? Or 4s, or multiples. Things are stronger that way, right? So a lot of people would say, okay, I was in a polyamorous relationship. I have this guy and this girl, or this girl and this girl, or these 2 guys, whatever combination it is. Okay, this one is going to be about love and light, and this one's going to be about the dirty and dark, right? So then you have all aspects of what you are doing there, okay? Polygamy is a little bit different because polygamy actually has the marriage equivalent, not just the free-spiritedness of polyamory. Yeah. Probably didn't say that right. Anyway, okay, so it is practiced by many, 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 many religions. Everything under not just the pagan umbrella, but also under the Christian umbrella, okay? So banging 3 times. Yes, Melanie. Perfect. Oh, Lordy. Okay, so a lot of people, hold on, I need to take a drink. I have heard multiple times that polyamory, polygamy, sex magic is for the heathens, right? Heathens fall underneath the pagan umbrella. Yeah, so you will never find that, over in the Christian umbrella. However, polygamy, it didn't come from, but it became widely known due to the FLDS Church, right, which is under the Christian umbrella. So I don't care what your belief system is, which umbrella you fall under, you will probably find instances of polygamy, polyamory, and sex magic in all of them. Okay? Okay. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. My daughter with me. Okay. Anyway, it's super powerful. There is a lot that can be said about the power that comes with the climax, right? So sex magic is super, super, super powerful. It's also any type of sexual activity used in magical, ritualistic, or otherwise religious or spiritual practices. One practice of sex magic is using sexual arousal or orgasm with visualization of a desired result. Okay? So this is what I want to happen. Keep that in mind. Keep that intent, right? And then do the deed, do your business, and at the end, make sure that's what you're thinking about, not the business, but the intent, right? And it kind of releases that powerful magic. A premise posited by sex magicians is the concept that sexual energy is a potent force that can be harnessed to transcend one's normally perceived reality. Okay? I have Aleister Crowley on here. Do you guys know who he is? No? Okay.
I'd like you to remind me, yeah.
Okay, so Aleister Crowley is a very well-known magician. Okay, let's see. Let me just tell you real quick, because I don't want to mess it up on which belief system, Aleister Crowley. He's an occultist. He was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet. If this dies, it dies. Just because this is the last slide anyway. Maybe? Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, so Thelema, and I am so sorry, Karen, if I said that wrong. Thelema is Thelema. I'm going to spell it for you. He's also an author. If you've heard of the Thoth Tarot deck, that's his tarot deck. Let's see, where am I? Okay, so according to him, in the Book of Law, it solves the sexual problem completely. Each individual has an absolute right to satisfy his or her sexual instinct as is proper for him or her. The one injunction is to treat all such acts as sacraments. One should not eat as the brutes, but in order to enable one to do one's will. The same applies to sex. We must use every faculty to further the one object of our existence. And it's used quite often in manifestation of things. So, Thelema. Thank you, Karen. And like I said, I'm sorry. So Aleister Crowley became involved with someone named Theodore Russ and the Ordo Templi Orientis. Once again, I apologize, Karen. I pronounce things weird. following the publication of the Book of Lies. So Alistair wrote the Book of Lies. He wrote a lot of different books. And according to Crowley's account, Roos approached him and accused him of having revealed the innermost sexual secrets of the OTO. But in one of his chapters, but it was actually done so unintentionally. So Crowley became the ninth degree. He was initiated into the ninth degree of the OTO. Okay, sex magic is not just with another person. Okay, so there is masturbatory or autosexual magical techniques. There's heterosexual and anal. Okay. And they all have different aspects of them. Okay. So they all do different things. With sex magic, it is not one to be used lightly, in my opinion. I don't think that in any way that it falls under dark magic. I really don't. Because I think that the reason that people think it does is because sex itself is sometimes a stigmatized or taboo subject, right? I do not feel it is the same way. I do not feel like it needs to be stigmatized or anything like that. Therefore, I have never considered sex magic under dark magic. Ceremonial, absolutely, especially if it's kind of a high magic type thing. Okay. Karen says, no, Crowley, contrary to your opinions, did not practice child sacrifice. A male child of complete innocence and high intelligence refers to his own spooge. That's what she said. Yes. I actually knew that. I'm pretty sure Michael and I had a conversation about it. Anyway, a big thing with sex magic, once again, make sure it's consensual. Okay? That both parties are aware of what is happening. Not just one, right? Like, that's super selfish. If you're using sex, even like a one-night stand, you know, if you're using them, like, use them for a one-night stand, cool beans. But don't make them a part of your practice or having your power go out there without them knowing. I think that is super selfish. I also don't think that if you don't have someone there that you trust to say, hey, let's practice some sex magic, then do it yourself. Like, plain and simple. Okay? Sex magic is not as practiced openly as a lot of these other things that we've talked about, right? Just because I think, like I said, sex has been stigmatized. It's such a taboo, and it's a private thing. Me personally, I don't mind Skyclad. I don't care what you want to do. Like, you do you. I'm good with it. I probably don't want to see it, but, you know. So for me, it's not a taboo subject. If you ever want to learn anything about sex magic, okay, or tantra, or tantric magic, I suggest that you come to one of Rick Womble's classes. He is fantastic. That is kind of his subject. Okay. I do know some about it. I have practiced some, but I would not consider myself like an authority in sex magic. Okay. Okay. Any questions about that? No? No. Okay. All right. So the last thing, what time is it? Anyone? Because according to my watch, it's 11:32 a.m. Perfect. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to kind of talk about is body part magic. Okay. Holy Hannah. So there is this thing going around that I am very much not okay with. And it's body part magic, okay? So it is literally getting body parts in one way or another and using them in your magic so that you have your power and that whoever that belonged to's power. Okay? Yeah, it's a thing. Okay? People have done grave robberies. Oh, hiccup. They have had a friend that's like, yeah, go ahead and cut my pinky off. Like, serious. This is a thing, and I don't like it, and I don't want anyone practicing it, so that's all I'm going to say about it. Please don't do it. Like, use your own body parts if you want to, but don't use someone else's, especially someone that you have to steal. Okay? All right. That's the end of class. I'm done. Please don't make me talk anymore.